Assalamualaikum and good evening. The Sarawak State Disaster Management Committee JPBNS remains on a high level of preparedness in facing the possibility of subsequent waves of flooding, despite weather conditions in several areas currently being reported as improving. Sarawak Deputy Premier, who is also chairman of JPBNS, Dato' Amar Douglas Uga Ambas, said all agencies have been instructed to remain on standby and to closely monitor high-risk areas, particularly low-lying locations that are frequently affected by floods. According to him, although some victims have been allowed to return to their respective homes following receding water levels, the current situation still requires a high level of vigilance due to unpredictable weather conditions.
This is the first phase of the flood. There may be, we hope not lah, tapi ada kemungkinan. Kita Sarawak Disaster Management Committee memang bersiap siaga untuk menghadapi another round of flood. Because according to the projection, this series of flood will end in March. Tetapi kalau kita seperti saya sebut hari itu, I nampak Semenanjung the flood is very little. Jadi kita berharap Sarawak pun diselamatkan juga. Walau bagaimanapun persiapan mesti dibuat.
He said this when speaking to reporters after inspecting the Temporary Evacuation Centre PPS at Chonghua, Sungai Tengah, Chinese National Type Primary School SJKC on Saturday. Dato' Amar Douglas Uga also stressed the importance of residents complying with evacuation orders issued by the authorities in the interest of safeguarding lives, as water level can rise within a short period of time, especially when heavy rainfall coincides with the phenomenon of king tides. Meanwhile, he said all relevant agencies, including the Malaysian Civil Defence Force APM, the Royal Malaysia Police PDRM, the Fire and Rescue Department of Malaysia, local authorities and the Department of Irrigation and Drainage DID, continues to carry out continuous monitoring in high-risk areas and along major rivers. He added that all JPBNS committees at the divisional level have also been instructed to ensure that evacuation centres are fully prepared, including in terms of cleanliness, facilities, food supplies and basic necessities to accommodate victims should further evacuations be required. In the meantime, the Sarawak government is ensuring that the management of temporary evacuation centres PPS across the state continues to comply with the established standard operating procedures SOPs in line with its commitment to safeguarding the welfare and safety of flood victims. Dato' Amar Douglas Uga stated that PPS management is currently under control. Basic amenities including mattresses, food, drinking waters, hot water supply and medical facilities are being provided to ensure the comfort of victims throughout the displacements.
Saya berpuas hati dengan pengurusan pusat-pusat pembinaan sementara ini. Memang dari awal kita ada beberapa masalah, tapi hanya tahun sudah selesai dan diuruskan dengan baik. Segala peralatan-peralatan yang diperlukan seperti tilam, makanan, air minum, air panas pun disediakan. Nama matlamat kita adalah untuk menentukan tempat initializer untuk mereka yang berpindah. Mereka dah susah, so at least we will make sure that PPS is giving some comfort for them. Makanan cukup, tilam ada, selimut ada, dan kawasan-kawasan pun bersih.
Dato' Amar Douglas Uga emphasizes that the state government primary goal is to ensure that the evacuation centres function as safe, clean and conducive shelters to alleviate the hardships faced by flood victims. He also informed that to date 12 PPS have been activated in Sarawak involving 343 families and 1,347 victims across the Kuching, Lawas and Kota Samarahan areas. Earlier, Dato' Amar Douglas Uga visited the PPS at Surau Ar-Rahman, Kampung Sungai Batu, which opened on January 1 to personally observe the current conditions and the welfare of 52 victims from 12 affected families. Additionally, he conducted an inspection of the PPS at Masjid Darul Istiqlal, Kampung Sungai Maung, which currently houses 128 flood victims from 26 families. The provision of food assistance at the Temporary Evacuation Center PPS at SJKC Chonghua Batukawa has proven to be highly helpful in easing the burden of flood victims who were forced to leave their homes due to the disaster. According to one of the flood victims, Rosbaita Winnie, 51, the well-organized distribution of food has also enabled evacuees to focus on the safety of themselves and their families without having to worry about meeting their daily basic needs.
Syukur Alhamdulillah lah sebab nya boleh memudahkan bagi yang si ada sempat ngambil barang makan dari rumah. Kami bersyukur, terima kasih juga dengan rakyat, dengan tidak YB, dengan tidak NGO dapat memberikan memudahkan kemudahan untuk kami di situ. Baik makanan, tilam, selimut semua sedia ada. Tempat tu memang terbaiklah untuk kami lah. Alhamdulillah.
For Mina Up, 56, from Kampung Rantau Panjang Hile, the experience of staying at the PPS was a challenging moment as the floods forced her and her family to leave their homes for safety reasons.
Keadaan banjir masa tu dah surut lah. Alhamdulillah lah, syukur lah nak. Tapi janganlah hujan datang mendadak lagi. Kenapa? Kita nang dah tahu keadaan tepi sungai nak. Dah masa kita lah ada bersiap awal. Yalah kami udah nangga keadaan diri sakit kaki tu. Kerana masalah menyingkatkan nak. Tapi alhamdulillah lah. Jam masa malamnya tukar tahun lah. Jam masa lah kami bersiap-siap sampai ke pagi kami si tidur nangga air dah sekeliling rumah. Kami si menyangka juga lah nak. Dah sampai bila dah kami sampai pagi dah kami si tidur. Ngangkat yang awal-awal ya dah diangkat barang. Tapi yang berat lah peti ais, mesin basuh. Salah akuan kami lah. Kami pun mengajar budak minyak mengaji nah. Alhamdulillah dah diselamat semua nah.
She also expressed her gratitude for the assistance provided by the government and the relevant agencies throughout their stay at the evacuation center.
Yang kerjaan kini tu nang bersyukur-syukur alhamdulillah. Bukan zaman macam zaman dulu-dulu. Sebab kami nang lahir dari rantau panjang. Kami nang dah merasa zaman masa-masa tu orang nang syukur. Bantuan makanan apa cukup. Atau orang si habis. Kata orang dia nak si habis makan. Kami 4 beranak. Nendak ni pukul 8 pagi ada orang hantar. Pukul 10 ada hantar mak makan. Tak baru buat sarapan. Yalah, pukul 12 nak ada lagi.
As of today, a total of 54 families involving 211 victims have been housed at the PPS at SJKC Chonghua Batukawa following the flooding that affected the area. Food supplies and basic necessities for flood victims in Sarawak are guaranteed to be sufficient, with early preparations and continuous restocking underway to meet the needs of victims should evacuation numbers increase. Minister for Women, Family and Community Development and Member of Parliament for Santubong, Dato Sri Nancy Shukri, said forward bases and disaster supply depots were activated early to ensure aid can be distributed without delay.
Jadi semuanya telah bersedia. Kalau ada seperti yang saya katakan tadi, kalau ada yang sudah dikeluarkan, maka kita cepat menambah supaya tidak ada yang terkesan dari segi kekurangan barang keperluan. Terutama sekali dari segi tempat yang barang-barang yang diperlukan, itu termasuk makan minum dan juga.
She said this after visiting the temporary evacuation center PPS at Surau Ar-Rahman, Kampung Sungai Batu on Friday. She noted that Sarawak has several disaster supply depots, including in Limbang, Kuching, and Samarahan, in addition to many depots at strategic locations that are currently on standby. Beyond physical needs, Dato Sri Nancy mentioned that emotional support is also being prioritized through the Psychosocial Support Team, PST, involving approximately 270 members and 230 Social Welfare Department, JKM volunteers, ready for deployment at any time. She emphasized that this approach is vital to ensure victims, especially children, do not suffer from emotional distress while staying at the PPS through the activities and counseling sessions. Regarding the capacity of evacuation centers, she stated that nationwide there are 9,058 registered PPS capable of housing up to 2 million victims, utilizing community halls and schools that remains in a state of readiness. She also stressed that the opening and operation of these centers are carried out in stages according to necessity to ensure victims' safety while encouraging the public to evacuate and register if the residential areas are affected by floods. Dr. Sri Nancy added that these preparedness efforts are implemented in an integrated manner with the local authorities, security agencies and government officials whose leave has been frozen to ensure smooth disaster management. Meanwhile, she reported that 10 PPS are currently active in Sarawak with 1,181 victims from 304 households KIR recorded as affected by the floods so far. Also present during the visit was the Sarawak Minister for Women, Early Childhood and Community Wellbeing Development, Dr. Sri Fatimah Abdullah. Sarawak's approach to smart city development must be interpreted based on local realities, inclusivity and long-term sustainability rather than adopting external standards wholesale in order to ensure meaningful benefits for the people. Sarawak Deputy Premier and Minister for Public Health, Housing and Local Government, Dato' Amar Professor Dr. Sim Kui Hian, said Sarawak's development framework emphasizes digitalization, smart technology, sustainability and shared prosperity under the post-COVID-19 development strategy PCDS 2030, with a strong focus on ensuring that progress benefits all segments of society.
So that's why all these require our smart user. We want people in Kuching to be smart user, knowing how all this information, how to use it, do for it all health benefits. And after a while, being a smart user, hopefully you can smart people.
He said this when officiating the launch of the ESG Smart Poles pilot project at Kuching South City Council MBKS on Saturday. Dr. Amar Dr. Sim stressed that concepts such as environmental, social and governance ESG and the Sustainable Development Goals SDG must be applied in the Sarawak context, noting that while Sarawak is a net zero and contributes significantly to forest conservation, it continues to be affected by climate change. He also highlighted Sarawak's early adoption of smart infrastructure, citing the introduction of smart traffic lights in Kuching as early as 2016, with about 70% of traffic lights now upgraded, reflecting the importance of continuity and long-term planning in governance. He described the launch of the ESG Smart Poles as timely. He described the launch of the ESG Smart Poles as timely and significant, adding that MBKS is on track to become one of the first city councils in Malaysia to achieve UNICEF child-friendly city status, reinforcing the city's commitment to inclusive, people-first urban development. The ESG Smart Poles pilot projects form part of broader efforts to integrate technology, environmental responsibility and public health into Sarawak's vision of a smart, sustainable and livable city. And that's the English edition with me, Saiful Bahri Muhammad. More news can be found in our official portal ukas.sarawak.gov.my and social media platforms including Facebook and YouTube. To conclude the UKAS Bulletin are highlights of Deputy Premier of Sarawak, Dato' Ahmad Douglas Uga Ambas, making visits to temporary evacuation centers PPS in Kuching and Kota Samarahan on Saturday. #Saluran Informasi Rakyat. Have a good night.